as this.
I know you paid $100. I'm still gonna put ads in here.
Microsoft is employing full-screen ads.
Implement a feature known as Recall, which periodically takes screenshots of your computer.
End of free security updates for Windows 10.
Don't even get me started on the Windows taskbar.
Why do you need to install updates? What updates? Some more f***ing spyware? It doesn't even give you a choice to say no.
There's just something magical about.
On October 14th, 2025, Microsoft quietly did something that affected over 240 million people. They killed Windows 10. No more security updates. No more patches. No more support. Done. And here is the problem. Hundreds of millions of perfectly working computers cannot run Windows 11 because Microsoft demands a TPM 2.0 chip that most older machines simply do not have. So your laptop still runs fine, your hardware is perfectly healthy, but Microsoft just told you it is now your problem. And millions of people had the exact same reaction. If Microsoft is done with us, maybe we are done with Microsoft. That is where Linux enters the picture. And the numbers that followed are ones that Microsoft did not want anyone talking about. According to StatCounter, Linux desktop market share in the United States crossed 5% for the first time ever in June 2025, sitting at 5.03%. That might sound small, but consider this. In 2022, that number was only 2.76%. In just 3 years, Linux nearly doubled its user base on desktop. And globally, as of January 2026, Linux holds 3.86% of the desktop market, while Windows has dropped to 66.4%, down from over 90% a decade ago. That is not a small crack. That is a wall starting to crumble. But here is what really accelerated this shift: a gaming device. Valve released the Steam Deck in February 2022, and it runs entirely on SteamOS, which is built on Linux. According to market research firm IDC, by early 2025, the Steam Deck had sold approximately 4 million units, capturing around 50% of the entire handheld gaming PC market. Millions of gamers who had never touched Linux in their lives suddenly had it in their hand. And what they discovered shocked them. Linux did not just run their games. In many cases it ran them better. Benchmarks on identical hardware showed games like Counter-Strike 2 hitting 340 frames per second on Linux versus 285 frames per second on Windows 11. That is a 19% performance gap on the same machine, just from switching the operating system. Those benchmarks went viral. People started asking a very reasonable question: if Linux runs my games faster for free, why am I paying for Windows? The Steam Hardware Survey confirmed the trend in real numbers. Linux gaming went from 1.4% of all Steam users in January 2023 to 3.05% by October 2025. That is over 13 million active Steam users now gaming on Linux. And Valve is pushing further. In January 2025, Lenovo announced the Legion Go S, the first officially SteamOS-powered handheld PC from a manufacturer other than Valve itself. Linux is no longer just Valve's experiment. It is becoming industry-standard hardware. Then there is the enterprise side of this story, and this is where things get serious for Microsoft. The city of Munich, Germany migrated 29,000 employee computers to Linux. Barcelona moved 12,000 machines. Paris deployed Linux across 28,000 systems. France's National Gendarmerie runs over 103,000 computers on Ubuntu, their own custom Ubuntu-based system. In April 2024, Germany's state of Schleswig-Holstein became the first European region to completely replace Microsoft tools with Linux and LibreOffice across all public offices. And Deutsche Telekom, one of the largest telecom companies on the planet, migrated 60,000 employee workstations away from Windows, publicly stating that the decision saved them $89 million compared to staying on Windows 11 with its licensing costs and forced hardware upgrade. $89 million saved by removing Windows. India is another story entirely. Linux desktop market share in India sits at 16.21%. making it the second most popular desktop operating system in the country, ahead of Mac OS. That is not a niche. That is a mainstream operating system in the world's most populous country. The growth is real, it is documented, and it is accelerating. Now what is driving regular people, not governments, not enterprises, to make the switch right now? Zorin OS, one of the most beginner-friendly Linux distributions, reported over 780,000 Windows users switching to their platform directly following the Windows 10 end-of-life announcement. Those are not tech experts. Those are everyday people who looked at paying for a new Windows 11 compatible machine versus downloading a free operating system that works on the computer they already own, and chose the free option. Linux also does not serve you ads in the Start menu. It does not push OneDrive on you. It does not take screenshots of everything you do every 5 seconds through a feature called Recall, a real Windows 11 Copilot Plus feature that UK data regulators launched an investigation into within 24 hours of its announcement because security researchers found it stored your passwords, banking details, and private messages in a searchable database accessible to anyone who touched your unlocked device. So where does this leave Microsoft and Bill Gates? Windows still dominates with 66.4% global market share. That is not going away tomorrow. But the trajectory tells the real story. 10 years ago, Windows held over 90%. Today it is 66.4% and dropping. Linux went from barely 1% to nearly 4% globally and 5% in the US in just a few years. Countries, corporations, and millions of individual users are all moving in the same direction. The frustration with Windows 11 hardware locks, forced updates, built-in ads, and privacy concerns is not going away. And Linux distributions like Ubuntu, Linux Mint, and Fedora have never been easier to install or use. The barrier is gone. The reasons to stay on Windows are getting smaller. And the reasons to leave are growing every single month. The question is no longer whether people are leaving Windows for Linux. The data proves they are. The real question is, how many more need to leave before Microsoft finally listens?